All right, here we go again with another Ascension video. Second attempt at doing a simultaneous recording with Turtler7. Looks like my phone is going to try to die on me, but maybe we can make it through these two videos. He has chosen with Dreamscape and Realms Unraveled. And I really like Bringer of Despair, especially if I can get it in multiples. So I'm going to go ahead and take those. It's a bit of a gamble, of course, if the deck doesn't really play out according to plan. It may not be a good Void deck to use the Bringer with, but when it does, I feel like that's just so powerful. I haven't actually played these two sets in combination a lot. I don't play a ton of Dreamscape. I'm not a huge fan of Ashes to Ashes, it feels like, but I may have just not played with it enough to know. Brainstorm Sentry sometimes is very hit or miss, as is a card that I'm not going to pronounce, but this card. I'm going to select it because I think the upside is pretty high, because, sometimes you get it for free with that one construct, the ward, as it were. So Turtler gets to go first, and he has a 5-0 hand, and he went ahead and purchased the Animus of the Wild. I like that pick. I think that's by far the most powerful card he could have picked up based on the current board. So I'm just going to go right in for gambling on my main plan that we discussed with the Void Dream cards and pick up Dream Killer. It's a card that will give me power to help double with Bringer of Despair later when I get it, and give me the insight to buy the Bringer of Despair to begin with. Okay, so he's now picked up the Aura Sensei, and so I have a couple of options. I could go more power to go with my power theme, which would pay off if maybe some monsters come out that give insight, or some of the Realms cards that synergize with the Void cards, or I could pick up a Mystic or just this Wild Gear Druid. Now, neither of us have a construct yet. And this may be wrong, but I kind of feel like I want to take the Mystic because it does about the same thing at this point and doesn't open a center row slot for him. Now, if he takes the Druid and builds sort of a Lifebound theme, I may regret that. I'm actually going to take the Druid, just based on that and the fact the Secluded Laboratory is out there, and it may be that I end up with some Makana heroes and want to take that. And I did open up a Blackwatch Exemplar for him, which he's going to take, and I think that's exactly the thing I was afraid of. So, unfortunately, sometimes a gamble, and kind of have to pay the price for that. I think it's either Initiate's Gauntlet. I think it's Initiate's Gauntlets. I've already got the card that keys off of constructs. That gives me one. And I also have a plan that involves Void cards, so that's two things in favor of that card. So now he's got the Secluded Laboratory. Has a little bit of a rune advantage early on, as I've picked up a couple of cards now that don't produce runes. And now he's picked up the Laboratory, which gives him a chance to really build that rune advantage if he's able to hit with that. Now this is kind of lucky. This is pretty lucky for me that I'm able to come up with a 6-hand. I think this is exactly the kind of card that can get me right back in this game. I felt like I was a little behind, pretty far behind already actually. But being able to produce 4 of either resource and also picking up some more insight, I'm getting very close to being able to buy like a Bringer of Despair. I may be able to turn this into some massive power turns pretty quickly if some things fall into place for me. And if not, having that ability to transform an insight into rune, I may be able to pick up this Imri Shadow Slayer before he does, and be able to purchase those cards that way. So now we've seen him pick up a second Secluded Laboratory, so I definitely want to be on the lookout as far as good Makana heroes that come into the center row, and trying to avoid letting him have those if at all possible. I'm going to clear a slot here by beating the Sower and see what comes out. And that's a Void hero, so that plays with some of the things I'm wanting to do already. And it's a Makana hero that I feel like I'm trying to keep him off of those cards. So I will take the Nightmare Delver, and no reason yet to purchase the Bringer of Despair, although I can, because it's not time yet to shuffle the deck. Okay, so this is definitely a decision kind of situation. I love cards like Scryer, first and foremost. That's just something that, when I have a situation where, I could use some resources to get something a little bigger, like in this case I might have to use an Insight to get up to the 8 that I need to buy the Emery. But that actually might just be a big enough card that I need to go ahead and do that and skip the Scryer. But as I say, a lot of times I'm willing to forego doing something to get a big card like this if I could get a Scryer instead. But in this case, I do think I'm going to go, because it actually helps me with Insight in the long run, because I can then play the Emery and use power as Insight. So I'm going to take the Emery. I think it's just a big enough card at this point that that's what I need to do. And then he gets the Think Tank. So now has his 2